Thank you so much, Mr. Salve, for joining us for this interview on the sidelines of the book launch of Mr. Mukesh Butani's Tax Dispute Resolution Challenges and Opportunities for India. I think one part really struck out. You said that the Indian tax laws are one that destroy, debilitate, confuse, distract. My follow-up question would be, is the problem with the policymakers or the administrators?
I start by blaming the legislation because you can't blame the income tax officer for what he finds in the book. For years, tax experts have said, please, for God's sake, especially a country like India, we can't afford the luxury of all these. Have a plain, simple tax law with a flat rate of tax. Be reasonable in your tax rate and be done. And make India a tax haven. I'm not saying zero tax. Abolition of tax is a larger issue. Otherwise, make India a tax haven. It will be so attractive, and you will gain in the swings far more than what you lose in the rounds.
We need a new code.
I would scrap this and make a law with 200 sections, 150 sections, and be done with it.
Yeah. When the government came in, the current government, Modi government came in 2 years ago, they promised a non-adversarial tax regime and free of tax terrorism. 2 years down the line, are you happy with the plethora of circulars, not appealing the Vodafone Shell judgment to the Supreme Court? Some positive signs?
See, believe me, today I don't blame any government department for being unreasonable. I don't blame anybody. I blame you, I blame me, I blame all of us, because we have made ourselves a suspicious, cynical, and completely distrustful society, which, and as I said, it's become a three-letter word society: CAG, CVC, CBI, PIL, humiliation, and public denouncement. Which government servant is going to take the risk? So how do you blame them for maladministration? You give them the protection, you give them the wherewithal, you give them the technology, give them the equipment, and then hold them accountable. We do the reverse. We pay peanuts. We don't give them a good quality of life. There are serious service disputes, which you know about, in which senior officers are faced. And then you expect them to perform like they are some wizards. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
Mr. Salve, pendency of cases at the tribunal, High Court, Supreme Court. High Court 35,000, Supreme Court 6,000, tribunal almost 1 lakh. What can we do really? Should we do something like the United States Supreme Court, where admission itself is a rarity?
See, today the quality of administration is a big problem. Your tax tribunals, I'm afraid to say, the quality is a big problem. Then in the department, who's going to bail the cat? Who's going to take the risk of not appealing and tomorrow be blamed that if some verdict goes the taxpayer's way? So what happens? The department takes a chance, we take a chance. One of the ways of reducing pendency, and this I've always told this to our courts and our judges, go on for a realistic costs regime. Believe me, in England, before you file an appeal, you think 20 times. If you have to pay actual costs, you don't file an appeal for taking a chance.
Okay. International arbitration. India is clearly opposed to it. In fact, our minister, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, at one of the G20 meetings, said very clearly it impinges on India's sovereignty. Yet you've had 3 big multinationals invoke arbitration against India. Is international arbitration the way to go, and should India be dropping its opposition to arbitration?
Look, either you scrap BITs, correct? If you have a bilateral investment treaty, you can't say enforce it in my court, because your court is subject to municipal law. It appears those who signed BITs didn't realize that a BIT is above your municipal law. Today it's a huge developed jurisprudence, BIT jurisprudence. So if you are signing a BIT, at the time when you want to seduce people to invest in your country, you want to hold out all these promises. Where it comes to deliver, suddenly you become sovereign. Then say, I'm a sovereign, I don't want your money. You can't have it both ways.
2 last questions. One on BEPS. You have the OECD, the G20, which is talking of one global tax policy, almost 15 BEPS action plan to clamp down on tax avoidance. You have action plans like the country-by-country reporting, which will give a lot of data ammunition to the tax department. What's your take on BEPS? Is it a panacea to the ills, the tax policy ills facing the globe, or is it going to be a recipe for more litigation?
See, BEPS is a reaction, and
Necessary reaction?
It's a necessary reaction, we must understand, not just in India. Even in the most developed parts of the world, there is a reaction to what is called tax efficient business planning. There is if building wealth is a partnership in which governments and the common man as resources collaborate to help a big corporation build wealth, then you must share your profits with your partners fairly, honestly. And I'm speaking for myself, I do not find great moral justification. If you have clear laws, retrospectivity, unclear laws is a different matter. Going forward, the BEPS project, if it can achieve what it has set out to achieve, it will instill a sense of participation even in the common. You know, in what happened in London, there was a movement at one time. People said, we will not go to Starbucks. We will not buy from Amazon.
But will BREPS bring in the certainty, sir?
I'm sure it will. It's not a one-shot solution, because I'm sure this is an experimental legislation. But I must say I agree with the direction in which it is going.
Your take on GST? Where are we? Where we should be? Are you happy with the model GST law? Did you have a chance to go through it? And are you generally happy with
broadly, I think it's a great move forward. Like in a democracy where you have a federal problem as we do, and there is great misgivings in our federal system as we have seen, which are sharpening over a period of time. I think getting a GST law not necessarily perfect is itself a huge achievement. You aim for perfection, you will miss the opportunity. I think the time is now. We have to move ahead. We have to get on with the GST law. Nothing is cast in stone. Everything can be changed. We can make corrections as we go along. Even constitution. Broadly, I think the structure is fine. I think it's time we give it a chance.
Final question, impact of Brexit on policymakers. What's your take, sir?
See.
Is it the working class revolt, which you talked about now?
Okay. So let me tell you, it's very interesting if you see the Brexit divide. Brexit was an emotional moment. And now that I spent half my life in London, I can tell you what emotions led to the leave vote. Excessive European bureaucracy, micromanaging without accommodating the differences in culture. Europe is not one. Europe has different cultures. That's one big problem. And I'm telling you, for example, one British restaurateur told me, you impose very strict rules which make it impossible for us to make our kind of food. The Italians make the same food because they don't take their law as seriously as we do. Now, these are cultural differences. For a Brit, a law is law, it has to be respected. Now, this excessive bureaucracy is one, and the other is the emotional problem of migration. So I think, this is my personal view, and I have a lot of colleagues in chambers who feel the first mistake was to have a referendum at a time where there are such emotional issues on the horizon. The second mistake, and a huge mistake, was in the referendum law. Brexit is a constitutional change. Anywhere in the world, constitutional change is never by simple majority. They were so confident of winning possibly the Brexit vote that they didn't provide that you must have at least so much vote, and see what happened.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.